Welcome to the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I'm Coach Lisa Callahan, a recovered emotional eater. I ended decades of self-inflicted struggles with food through taking a journey of self-discovery, which revealed the secrets of what was going on underneath the food. Throughout this podcast, we'll explore topics that are rarely talked about, like low self-esteem, lack of confidence, people-pleasing, and decades of self-sabotaging behaviors. Rather than just focusing on the food, we'll dive deeper into aspects of who you are as a person and how you ended up relying on food for comfort to begin with. My mission is simple: to empower women to regain their confidence and prioritize self-love, regardless of the number on the scale. Discover what you've really been craving, and trust me, it's not about the food. This podcast is based on insights shared from the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group on Facebook, so be sure to check out the show notes for the link to the group and a complimentary gift just for you. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome to another fun and insightful episode of the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. The topic today is how to stop putting yourself down so that you don't want to use food to comfort yourself. And today we have a really special guest speaker coming on with us. This is another one of our recovered emotional eaters, Revelations episode. Welcome, Kelly, to our podcast today. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Coach Lisa. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor and privilege to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor and privilege to have you here too. And I want to talk a little bit about this topic today of how to stop putting yourself down so that you don't want to use food to comfort yourself. So we'll go into a little bit of like how your journey started and what you were doing before Crush That Food thing. I want to talk about if you were putting yourself down and why you are an expert on this topic. So let's go into before we met. What were some of the things that you were struggling with?
Before I met you, I was struggling with what I thought to be was emotional eating. I was an emotional eater. I was a food addict. That's what I thought I was. I thought, um, you know, I thought I was the only one that had this problem, really. I really internalized it for myself. I knew other people, would talk about things about food and eat, but I was like, no, I know myself so well. This is what I am. This is how I do things. I I really I really struggled with my weight, and I felt that I had tried everything and there was just absolutely like no way that I was ever going to lose weight. I was destined to be like this. This is who I am. There was there was just absolutely nothing else that I could try because I had tried everything else. And I remember, you know, going through Facebook, and that's how I found the emotional eating group, and going through Facebook and thought, oh, well, maybe this will be like have some new information for me. And I remembered about maybe 3 days into going through the Facebook, because it wasn't right away that I contacted you. Sat on that and I thought, you know what will she be able to tell me that I don't know already? Like, I know myself so well.
Well, that's the kind of interesting part about it is that you, from a career standpoint, if you want to share, like you are educated in the ways of nutrition and you probably could give advice to other people. Is that right?
Well, yes, like I'm a registered nurse, and I used to do critical care for, geez, probably 35 years of my career. The last 7 years or so have been in palliative care. And yeah, like I would, tell people how to eat healthy, what to eat, what to do, how to exercise to keep those arteries clean. And then I'd go sit in the car and eat 17 pieces of fudge and a bag of chips on the 5 minute ride home. So I wasn't doing, I wasn't being the person that I was really wanting to be.
Yeah, and I'm giggling because I know that that type of hurricane damage can be done
in like minutes, right? So it's like 17 pieces of fudge and a bag of chips on the 5-minute ride home. Like that really resonates with me because I definitely had that hurricane like appetite. And it really did feel like a quick bit of destruction. It just was like, and I'm certain that a lot of the people listening to us can really appreciate that as well. It just seems like suddenly you're like swept away by a hurricane, like out of yourself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it felt like it, as I was doing it, it felt like it wasn't me, yet I knew I was really there, sitting there doing it, yet it felt like I was this like anomaly or this other person. It was just not, I felt like a different human being. And I was wiping the chips off my face and hiding the wrappers. And then I'd walk into the house and the kids would say to me, "Oh, look, mom," like my daughter, "I made cookies." I go, "Do what?" She'd say, "Do you want one?" I'd say, "Absolutely." And then I would have like 3 or 4 cookies. And then I would stop. And when they went to bed, I would have the other 24.
Mm. And I was somewhat the opposite, where I could have just like come home from the store, had bought like 2 boxes of cookies, eaten one in the car, stopped at a gas station, threw away the, evidence, then walked into the house with my groceries. The kids might have been like, "Mommy, did you buy cookies?" And me being like, "You don't get cookies this late, it's 8 p.m., lights out, kitchen closed." So I had this thing where I was the opposite in some way where, I had just done this like thing in the car, and then suddenly I was going to tell everybody else what they, should be eating, and basically, put it on them where it's like, you shouldn't be doing this. But then I had just done it. So it was a super huge betrayal of my own integrity of myself, honestly. And it sounds like from your nursing career and like giving advice to people and teaching people how to do things properly, gave you also that permission to sort of ignore yourself and put yourself on the back burner. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely ignored who I was. I was kind and compassionate and empathetic and loving with everyone else, for everyone else, except myself. Yeah.
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 And you probably didn't necessarily even like catch yourself in the act of it. Like until I started like turning inward and taking a journey of self-discovery, like I just thought that I was this kind-hearted person. I was caring, considerate. I helped everyone. I'd give the shirt off my back and whatever. And then I didn't even necessarily recognize that I was pretty mean to myself. I mean, I knew I was doing things that later on I was like berating myself for, like, why did you do that? What's wrong with you? Why can't you just get your, what together? That I knew, but I also wouldn't have really thought it was a big deal to treat myself so poorly.
Yes. Before, doing my journey in self-discovery in your beautiful program, Crush That Food Thing, I did not put the two and two together. It wasn't until you brought up a couple of things and helped me and mentored me in that journey that things started to click. It was like, oh my goodness, like, this has nothing to do with the food. This has nothing to do with actual, like the food. It's why I'm using that food to, to harm myself. And it was pretty much on a subconscious level. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't, I wasn't aware that that's what I was really, really doing. And see, that's why all the other things that I tried, like I tried every diet known to mankind. I tried every exercise thing. I went on Bernstein's weight loss clinic. I did everything, like everything. And it didn't work because I didn't get to any root cause. I didn't get to what the problem really was. And that's been my savings grace in self-discovery. And that has allowed me to stop harming myself with food.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part is because like when you think about it from this like wider perspective, your initial thought was, I got to lose weight, I got to lose weight, I got to lose weight. And if you decided that that was going to be your goal, then going on diets and such, like I'm certain that you probably did actually lose weight on certain diets, right? So the diet itself can sometimes help you to lose weight. And am I right? Like, have
Yes,
you on
a-
diet?
absolutely. I mean, I went on, probably, I don't know how many diets. I lost count. I lost probably somewhere between 700 to 900 pounds in a total of, I would say, 47 years from the age 10 to 57. And I gained, you know, every one of those pounds and then some back
Because
because I didn't address the real problem.
yeah, because each diet, if you're focused just on weight loss, then you're going to lose weight during the diet. It's just that if you don't like fix the root cause of the problem, then the root cause of the problem is still there. So basically what ends up happening is that if your goal is just to lose weight and then you lose weight, and then like you'll have to put the weight back on so that way you can have another goal of losing weight. And so if you're it's like constantly running back and forth between the start line and what seems to be the finish line, but at the same time it's so limited because it's such a small little space, you're just like running back and forth like a little rabbit distracting yourself from like lose weight, and then you have to gain weight so that you can lose it again, and then you have to gain it so you can lose it again, you have to gain it so you can lose it, and it just keeps going, and it feels like you're chasing your own tail.
Exactly. It felt like I was a hamster on the hamster wheel. That's what it felt like. And I I couldn't then seem to, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't have the answer.
Yeah.
And then I met you. Yeah.
Yay. So our topic today, and the reason why you're coming in here as an expert on how to stop putting yourself down so that you don't want to use food for comfort, is because what we're seeing here is that you were thinking that food was comfort, and then you were like, it was sort of like that hamster on a wheel thing. It was like, so you might be internally have been putting yourself down, then you would think that you needed food for comfort. Then once you use the food for comfort, you could put yourself down again by telling yourself how horrible you were for eating all this stuff. And that way you could tell yourself you needed the food for comfort again. So this was kind of a back and forth habit that was created. And it was all sort of based on your habit to have a very specific attitude with yourself, which do you want
Yeah.
to share a little bit about that?
Yes. So this was all based, a lot of this for me personally was based on sarcasm. And I was really, I'll give you just a little bit, I'll set the stage for our viewers because it's really important that that's established. So, like, sarcasm was my go to. And I used to proudly, with false superiority, be, I'm the queen of sarcasm. And I was happy about that. And I thought that was a wonderful, like, I just thought that's who I am. And everybody laughed and everybody, found pleasure in my eyes.
Yep.
When I acted how I acted. And I remember, growing up and being mocked. I remember that very vividly, for being stocky. People used to say, you're stocky. You have, thick legs, or you're chubby. I can't remember the other word. Pardon?
I was hefty,
Hefty.
boned.
I was big boned too. I was told I was big boned. So I grew up thinking this stuff, and I grew up believing, really, yeah, like I grew up believing that this is exactly who I am. Um, you know, I would um I would comment about myself. I would laugh. I would walk into a room and I would think, oh, before they go to say something, I'm going to make sure I say it first, get that first nudge in.
Can you give an example of that? Like there was one time I remember you sharing about like going in to get your nurse's uniform or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember, I can remember saying a lot of things about myself, and like, especially like, I would say things, you know, to myself, like, Kelly, get your, your poop together. If I dropped my keys or I forgot something, I'd tell myself I was a klutz, I was a moron. I then went one time into work and we were looking at new uniforms. And I remember walking in the room and the woman said to me, Kelly, what size are you? I said, I'm the fat size. Get the fat size for me. And everybody just stopped and looked. And I just kept going. And it was, yeah, I want the overgrown fat size. And just throw me the biggest pair you got. And that's probably not going to be big enough. And I just kept going.
About that, it gives this like false appearance that you're just like, I accept myself just the way I am, whatever, like I'm good with it, but yet at the same time, there's also this like disconnect, because the very same things that, again, I suppose like it wouldn't matter, meaning like, it doesn't matter like everybody's what size you are, like there's no judgment, there's no, like, it's great and all. It's just that you weren't accepting that because you were constantly on diets and constantly trying to lose weight. So it's like, on one hand, you walked into a room being like, yep, give me the size, I'm okay with it, this is who I am. And then on the other hand, you were like, let me lose this weight. And so you were constantly battling with yourself.
Right. There was a constant feeling of internal turmoil. And that battle really came out through my sarcasm. And I would go into a room and I would look like the most confident person in that room. And then I would I would come out with a lot of sarcasm about myself. This allowed me really to disconnect with myself and with others, with all my beautiful peeps in my life. Like, I was not able to fully have the relationship that I wanted to have with them because of this sarcasm. That's what got in the way. And I kept myself in protection. I was shameful, and I kept myself protecting that shame through the use of the sarcasm. And then I felt bad about doing that. This wasn't a subconscious or a conscious thing. I felt bad about doing that. And then I used food. I would be in the room calling myself fat, and then I would go and I would eat, whatever, 10 cookies. And sometimes I would do it in front of people. That was not often. Often it was behind the scenes. Yet there was times at picnics, at work get-togethers, and I'd be sitting there at the cookie table and I'd be eating all this while, the next time, like presenting myself as this confident person while calling myself this fat pig. So there were so many contradictions there, so many. And, I would call myself like, it wouldn't just be like weight related. It then affected other parts of my life. I would see myself as being not attractive. I had called myself ugly. I was too stupid to understand that. I would say things like that. Oh, I can't apply for that job because I'm too stupid. I could never get that job. I'm too stupid to understand that. So it started to affect not just, when we talk about food and how food became my comfort, it started affecting like every other facet of my life. And then that just was a big permission slip to just go and eat and eat and eat and use that food to comfort me while I was thinking that will help me be confident. I'll eat the food so I can just go back out and make fun of myself and feel that shame. Yeah. So it was just a complete cycle. So, yeah.
And it's interesting, like even talking about it now, it's like, we can see like how random it is, right? It's like, on one hand, I feel this way, and on the other hand, I feel that way. And in this situation, I'm like this, and in this situation, I'm like that. And so it seems like it's almost like you're, I don't know, holding like 500 balloons in your hand. And it's like you've got all these strings and they're in one hand, but like they're all like bopping into each other, and you feel like you're being pulled this way and pulled that way. And so you were always constantly having to like be reactive to the things that were happening, and you were continuously like a chameleon, sort of changing yourself and adapting. Now at the time, this all felt like This is just who I am. And now in talking about it and even explaining it through your mouth, through your words, it's like, whoa, that must have been so difficult to have to be like, I have to remember to be this way in one situation and that way in another. And I've got to be sarcastic. And then, but on the other hand, I've got to use food to comfort myself, but it's not really comfortable. And then I have to accept myself, get me the fat clothes, all while I'm like, I got to lose weight. Like, it's like a lot of different parts.
It was absolutely, it was like I was wearing, how I equated it is 1,000 hats. And I have to take the one hat off and, to be this person, this type of person for this group of people, or this type of person for this group of people, friends. And it was absolutely exhausting and exhausting. And it wasn't till I, decided that, to take that journey in self-discovery, that things started to make sense. Like they really I started to understand how I was treating myself. I started to understand the whys behind I was doing that, which then afforded me the ability to change the script and to focus on the change that I wanted to have happen, so that I could be that loving and kind person to myself, like I was to everybody else. Like that was who I am. That is what I did. And that was me. The loving, kind, caring, empathetic human being was me. That was me all along. And, I could see it for like the other people, but it was like, I just didn't deserve it for myself. Never on a conscious level, yet it all just encompassed in that like vicious cycle or circle. So
yeah. And as you're seeing it now, even when you're explaining it now, you can see how this wouldn't be obvious to fix, right? It's like, and even, so that means that even when you did lose weight in the past, to just sit there and say that this was just a weight issue. And then if you lost weight, then you'd be able to figure out how to bring down these walls that you had created for yourself between you and other people, how you built habits to isolate. Like, why did you do that? Like, how did that start? And to dismantle the labels that you had on yourself. If you had a label on yourself that you were stocky or heavy or hefty or whatever, and the sarcasm, to kind of sweep it up in the back end by keeping yourself stuck. Like that was a habit that was created for a past version of yourself. So without being able to see this through a wider lens, a bigger picture, it can be really confusing. So how did coaching and, being able to open your mind? Because I remember at the beginning, Kelly, you were definitely wanting to, kind of push back against some of these things as we were coaching. So what did that pushback feel like? And how did you decide for yourself to shift into a new mindset?
the pushback for me it evoked a lot of for me doing having the resistance and pushing back evoked a lot of anger. And I was very angry. I was angry at you. I remembered that. I remembered thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like why can't I just explain why I'm doing something? Like, no, yes, but you have to know why I'm doing this, or why, it's, you must know that it's this other person's fault. It's not me. It's the other person. And you have to be able to see that. And it wasn't until I remember one call in specific, one coaching call, where you just literally called me on my bull. You called me. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this is my fault. This is something that I subconsciously created. I had these thoughts, I had these beliefs that really weren't true. And I can change that. And if I do that, will that change the scenario? Will that change me not harming myself with food? That's when it started to really enter into my mind that, you know what, I think this lady's onto something.
The whole idea of using the whole idea of comforting yourself with food especially after you've just made fun of yourself with sarcasm is like harmful for you. I mean, sarcasm with, a community or groups, or, we see all these funny things on TikTok. I mean, there's this like several funny things that I see on TikTok about, or Instagram about, like, first child, second child, third child, and I've got three. So I watch those things and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's hilarious. Like, I think it is like a funny thing. When you're the one that's like holding that like knife and you're the one that's jacking yourself in the heart with it, that is not funny. That is not okay. That is actually really harmful. And then to be the one that's like holding that knife to stab yourself, and then tell yourself again that the very thing that's going to now make you feel better is to use this stuff that is world renowned, called comfort food, all of the things that everybody feels are going to be comfortable, but then to have to comfort yourself because you're the one that stabbed yourself, and then to have that very same thing be the thing that's going to keep you stuck harming yourself again. None of that makes sense. And so those are the pieces where we have to be able to see with awareness. It's like making fun of myself and then having to use food to comfort is like a double-edged sword. It's like you're the one that's hurting yourself and then telling yourself that this very same thing that's hurting yourself is going to comfort yourself. And that's just a lie.
Exactly. And, I was the one standing in my own way, because the sarcasm really gave me just permission to stay in that narrow mindset, that judging myself, and then, often it would be judging others. And then I learned in self-discovery that when I was judging someone else, I might as well put my own name in there. That was what really, really, hit me. That hit home with me. And I can remember, perfect example was being on a beach. We live in Prince Edward Island, Canada, and beautiful beaches in the summer. And I would go to the beach with long pants on and a top, and I would not like expose my body because I felt shame. And I would look at women who were full bodied and just beautiful, and I would go, oh, I would think, why is she wearing that bikini? Like, honestly, like her legs, like it makes her legs look so big. And really what I was doing was saying, Kelly, you wouldn't wear a bikini because your legs are so big. Like, I might as well just put my name in there, because it wasn't her.
You would also be fearful because you were thinking these judgmental thoughts about someone else. You would think that as soon as you exposed your legs,
they were judging me.
There would be some lady standing across the beach there judging you. So basically, right, what you ended up doing, and this is such a cool concept, and we do teach this in Crush Your Cravings self-discovery system, like you were ending up judging people for thinking that they were going to judge you. And then in the name of that judgment, which is all fear-based, you ended up keeping yourself, stuck from being able to feel confident in yourself. And yet now, Kelly, I remember less than a year ago, I believe, somebody purchased herself a brand new
spanking beautiful bikini.
Yes.
I love it.
If you're a member of Crush Your Cravings, if you're a member of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group, which we'll have a link to in the show notes, I believe there is a picture in the features section actually of Kelly in her bikini. Which
yes. And I got to, that place by, stopping the sarcasm and telling myself that, what, it's not okay. It's not okay to mock yourself and make fun of yourself. That's not loving and kind. And I would never look at my daughter and say, oh, look at you. You're fat. You're ugly. I would never look at my friend and say that. So I have now consciously become aware of not saying those things to myself, because I love me. I'm worthy. I'm worthy of health and happiness. just like you, just like every one of these beautiful women in this community. We're all worthy of that. And, you know, being sarcastic was just, it was a cover up. It was just protection for really me. It was a protection from me seeing the real me, seeing the real beautiful human being that was like here wholeheartedly, mind, body, and soul, seeing myself. And, you know, I decided I don't really have an emotional eating problem. I have a caretaking problem. That's what I have. I'm not taking good care of myself. And because of that, um, you know, I decided it's time. It's time for Kelly. It's time for me. It's time to be self-interested, which is, you know, really putting myself first so that I can continue to fill my cup up with all the magnificent things that I want to spill over to the world, to everyone, every beautiful like woman out there, that they are like worthy, they deserve love, happiness. They are like, just by being a human being, you are beautiful. Just by virtue of being born a human being. That is it. That's all that, you know, that's all I had to understand.
It also gives you so much more permission to have like genuine connections with other people, because like you can see before somebody could judge you, you already labeled them as being a judge and think that they would judge you. So now it kind of, because that what that does is it sets you up for fear. It's kind of like, oh, I can't trust this person because they're going to judge me. So let me judge myself first, right? But
Exactly.
you can have like actual open communication. It actually like allows you to be vulnerable, to experience joy, to experience acceptance of yourself and others. Like it's just cool. So Kelly, as we start to head out here, just want to make certain that we like give you just like what would be one piece of advice that you would give to anybody who is looking at crushing their food thing through self-discovery as opposed to going on another diet?
I think I would say, you know, really take a hard look at where you've been and where that's like led you to. Myself, I've been on thousands of different programs, and it all got me to, you know, the same place, which was lose weight, yet the root problem was never addressed. The cause of that root problem was never addressed. So it was just a band-aid solution. That's exactly what it was. So I would say if you want to start, if you want to lose weight, if that's what your goal is, you have to accept yourself right exactly where you are, and meet yourself where you are. Be very open and honest with yourself, and understand, for me, I had to understand that sarcasm and the ridicule was really a lowest form of commitment to myself. That's exactly what it was. And if this is what you're doing to yourself, stop it. Stop it now. And how you can stop it is by doing that introspective reflection within yourself. And that means self-discovery. That's how I was able to crush my food things. I started to take a good look like at myself and realized there were so many times I didn't feel feelings, like I didn't feel things. Yet what I did was I used food to not be able to feel things. So I didn't know I was doing that. I thought I was feeling things fine, yet I wasn't. I was going to eat 20 Oreos, and when I was sad, instead of going, damn it, I am sad, and this is what's happened, and it sucks, and I'm sad, and it's okay to do that. So I would say be open and honest with yourself, and just really like take a good hard look inward. It's nerve sighting. It's nervous and it's exciting. It's really like a wonderful place to be. I would say that, you know, just by taking this step and doing self-discovery, I have gained like confidence in myself. I've gained trust. I've gained self-esteem. I've gained the ability to learn how to set loving and kind boundaries for myself instead of putting up walls. I've also learned to accept myself wholeheartedly and accept others. And that's been such a gift. In a nutshell, I've gained my integrity, and I'm a wholehearted human being, and I'm one person. I'm undivided. I was just going to say, I lost weight, and, I've recently lost 60, I'm at 62 pounds now in the last 4 years being in Crush That Food thing. And, that weight.
Right? Like, put that into perspective, right? So if you think about it, if you had not taken this journey, and let's say you gained 15 pounds a year, right? Like, just think and think about how that can happen. Like, over the course of a year,
Absolutely.
people will begin to gain weight if they're not gaining a new perspective on their life and they're continuing in this pattern. So, like, that's realistic for somebody to put on 50. I put on 15 pounds this year during the holidays. Now I'm going to try and take off that 15 pounds. Well, then the next year comes, you put on another 15 pounds, but you haven't really taken off the first 15 pounds. So let's say maybe you took off 5, but then you put on another 15. Now, year after year after year, you could have put on 15 pounds. Now, over the course of 4 years, you've been taking off, which has equaled your 60 pounds, right?
Exactly. And
Amazing.
it all was organic.
As you
Yeah, like, it was organic as I learned to simply be kind and loving with myself, learned how to, how to set some boundaries for me so that I could give me that love and kindness that I deserve. And
which doesn't require 17 brownies in your car, you know what I mean?
right, which has nothing to do with the 12 pieces of fudge in the bag of chips on the 5 ride, right?
Yeah. So as soon as you stop doing stuff like that because you care about yourself, like, you would never, like, think about this. If you had, you have a little grandchild, like, if your little grandchild became, was like, I'm sad, would you be like, here, eat 17 pieces of fudge? Like, you would never do that, right? So it's just an interesting thing that behavior for yourself became like the natural norm. So, Kelly, we do have to go now. So thank you so much for being here this week. I really appreciate you being such a wonderful person to insight, or to give us some insightful tips about how to stop putting yourself down so that you don't want to use food to comfort yourself. In the show notes this week, there will be the link to the Women's Emotional Eating Kids Community Support Group, which in the featured section, you can see Kelly in her bikini, which is super cool. In the show notes also this week, we have another sort of new opportunity that's called the Hub Club membership. This one is really cool because the Crush That Food Thing self-discovery system has what's called a learning hub, and the learning hub has close to 100 lessons in it. We sort of look at it as the Crush That Food Thing Bible, if you will, where you can really just go to different sections and learn different things. So that way, as you're beginning to unravel your own journey, because this is really a journey of your own. So Crush That Food Thing self-discovery system is a year-long opportunity for you to work with us in coaching. But at the same time, even though it is a group program, it's not a one size fits all. It's really a one size fits one. So what's really nice about the Learning Hub is that there's different sections and you can go into it as you begin to unravel your process through coaching. However, we also know that not everybody necessarily wants coaching right off the hop, and that some people might want to learn some of the lessons and just be able to figure out where that applies to them in their own life. So we like to give lots of opportunities for learning. So the Hub Club membership is where you can come to one live coaching call and do a live lesson with one of our Crush That Food Thing emotional eating experts per week. You also gain access to 4 of our lessons from our Learning Hub. So each week you get a new lesson, you get to come to a call, and you get the replay of that lesson. And then every week they rotate. So it's really cool. If anybody wants to join that Hub Club membership, you'll see a link for it in the show notes. And also, if you're looking for just a bite-sized opportunity of self-discovery, you just want to put your toe in the door, just get an understanding of like what this is about. We do have the Mindset Makeover Challenge, which is a 21-day challenge to learn how to stop eating your emotions. And as always, if you want to communicate with me, or even if you want to ask Kelly any questions, you can always please message me at lisa@coachlisacallahan.com. That is my email address in the show notes. If you want to ask Kelly some questions, just put, attention Kelly, and I'll make sure that Kelly gets some of those emails if anybody wants to ask Kelly a personal question, because you certainly can. So, all right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me my life back. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks. Bye for now.
All right, my beautiful friend, that brings us to the end of another episode from the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening today and took something from our conversation that you are going to put into immediate action. I love spending time with you and would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with at least one friend today who you think might be struggling too. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any other amazing topics. And please, please do leave me a review. It would mean the world to me. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.